right now, with the kind of cutting that has been proposed, and thankfully due to the last night's city council meeting, a lot of them were reversed, but the kind of cutting and an atmosphere of cutting that has been kind of proposed and pushed by the current municipal government particularly, and the current federal government, is scary. In order for our communities to thrive, we need to have resources. We need to have safe spaces. We need to have the capacity to have something to fall onto when we drop, you know? And that's what our government is supposed to do. I don't know what the hell I'm paying taxes for if not for those types of safeguards. And so definitely to the governments, don't cut, continue to support, begin supporting in very fundamental ways without setting the agenda, without creating all of these very strict delineations that disallow our communities to create the solutions that they want to and that they need to. As I say that, I'm filled with a huge sense of disbelief that this will ever happen, because I don't know that in a capitalist society, in this type of society that our governments are, and particularly when we have conservative governments that are elected, that they're even interested in hearing anything like that. To our communities, I would say that we need to change our strategies. We need to change our strategies. It's ridiculous how much energy we end up wasting in the ways that we are working right now. And I feel like I'm at a point where I don't want to necessarily invest a lot of energy into programming anymore. I want to invest energy into strategically building. And whether that means that, and I don't want to invest tons and tons of energy into writing grants to the government anymore. I want to spend energy working with my community to see how we can mobilize the resources that we already have. So to my communities, I would say let's look at different ways, because this way is not working. Too many of us are getting burned out. Too many of us are undergoing vicarious trauma and are being traumatized by the experiences that we are having. Too many of us are unhealthy. Too many of us are broke. Too many of us are not taking care of ourselves for the long term. So how can we take care of our communities if we're not taking care of ourselves? How can we begin to think about our community health when we're not even taking care of our own health? And so, yeah, I just feel like it's time to change the tide. Too many of us are leaving because we haven't changed the tide in time. And so I would encourage our communities to begin to think outside of the box. Don't think inside of the particular grant application that you're looking at, but think using imagination. Think with the inspiration of our ancestors. Think with the knowledge that we don't need to recreate the wheels that were made in the 70s and 80s, because there's a reason why those things did not necessarily work for long term. We have to think differently. And so in thinking differently, I'm encouraging people to not think about things in terms of charity, to not think about things in terms of nonprofit, but instead to think, and not to think about things in terms of organizations, but to think about things instead in terms of movements and in terms of generations. And that's the timeline we should be working on, not a 6-month or a 1 year or a 2 year, but in terms of generations. And when we think like that, which is something that I feel like wise elders, because there are a lot of unwise elders, mind you, but wise elders have been advising for a long time, you have to think in terms of generations. I think when you begin to build in that way, you don't need to use words like sustainability. And the other thing that I would say is we need to build our communities based on real things, not based on the fact that we're all between the ages of 18 to 25, not based on the fact that we are all from the African diaspora. Those things can be parts of our building, but it has to be more than that. There has to be a stronger foundation. It has to be something that is based on our ability to all together want freedom, to all together want an end to the exploitation of capitalism, to want an end to the misogyny and patriarchy, to want an end to the racism, to want an end to the homophobia, to want an end to oppression. That has to be like our foundation. If it's not, what the hell is the point? So I'm not interested in doing work to empower. I'm interested in doing work to build.